Hi there, it's August the 28th, and we're continuing our progress through Paul's second letter to the Corinthians. We have quite a short reading today from chapter 2, verses 12 to 17. We mentioned that this is a very personal message from Paul to the Corinthians. He's concerned about the letter that he sent to them, maybe a painful letter, a difficult letter that they've received, carried by his friend Titus, it seems, written originally from Ephesus. And so he's worried about how things are going in Corinth. Now, Paul leaves Ephesus, and it seems he goes probably by boat up to the northwestern part of Turkey to Troas. And there in Troas, he finds an openness to the good news of Jesus, and he could establish something further. He could maybe spend time there, but he's so concerned about how the Corinthians are receiving what he's brought and what Titus has brought. And when Titus doesn't appear, this concern means that he doesn't stay in Troas, but he crosses over back into mainland Europe, into Greece, to Macedonia, and he's looking for Titus there for news of Corinth. But he's convinced that whatever is happening, the gospel of the Lord is prospering. He says Jesus leads us in his triumph procession. God is leading us in a procession of triumph. And he also refers to the fact that everywhere they go, this aroma, this fragrance of the good news of Jesus is being appreciated and being smelt, as it were. And it's interesting that for those who are perishing, it's a fragrance of death. For those who are being saved, it's a fragrance of life. Now, this fragrance is quite important because it's actually, in Greek, there's two words used, osmi and evovia, and these words are used in the Greek version of the Hebrew scriptures, the Greek version of the translation of the Old Testament, and they translate a Hebrew phrase, reach nichoach, which means a sweet smelling savour, and it refers to the fragrance of sacrifices, that when sacrifices were made in the tabernacle, they would be a sweet smelling savour to God. And this is the idea that Paul is giving out, that in all of this service, in all of this giving of life, even in all of the suffering, there is a sweet smelling savour coming to the Lord, like that coming up from a sacrifice. God is not neglecting, he's not looking down on the sacrifice of his people, the suffering of his people, particularly the suffering of Paul here, but actually this is all part of the spreading of the good news of Jesus, and many are being blessed by it. And Paul just makes the point at the end, he's not doing any of this so that he can gain. Obviously he's been through a tough time, and he's not doing this so that he can monetarily gain. Maybe some people in Corinth have been accusing him of just preaching for what he can get out of it, for his personal gain. But Paul says, I'm not doing it for that. I'm actually doing it because I want to be sincere in my desire to serve Jesus. I'm doing it for the blessing of the Messiah. As we continually go on our lives with Jesus, seeking to be that sweet smelling savour to him, let's be constantly giving our lives again, as Paul says in Romans 12:1, as a living sacrifice, which is our reasonable worship, pleasing and acceptable to God. Have a very good August 28th.